Coming up in today's newscast, Prime Minister Netanyahu offers the people of Iran a glass of water. Israel reportedly nixes its demand to hold next year's Eurovision contest in Jerusalem. And a musical based on an Israeli film has just swept the 2018 Tony Awards. Breaking developments in northern Israel just now. An 18-year-old woman has just been stabbed in what many believe is an attempted terror attack. The suspect, a Palestinian man from the West Bank, has just been arrested following a short chase in the city of Afula. Police have confirmed that the suspect was shot in the leg after fleeing the scene. Video footage of the arrest has already circulated on social media, and as of now, the young woman is still in serious condition at the hospital. She was stabbed in broad daylight on a public street in the city of Afula, and we've learned that she was stabbed multiple times in her upper body before collapsing in front of a coffee shop. Police have yet to formally declare this as a terror attack, but for many, the writing is already on the wall, and a clear sign that unrest in Gaza is now spilling over into the West Bank as well. The divide between Israeli and diaspora Jewry seems to be growing, and some theorize that it's because reform and conservative movements are adopting extremist ideologies. Well, here to discuss is former chairman of the U.S. Democratic Party in Israel, Sheldon Shorer, legal advisor to the Israeli Movement for Governability and Democracy, attorney Simcha Rothman, lecturer on public policy from Haifa University, Chezi Kugler, and Natan Nestel, who is investigating the campaign to alienate American Jews from Israel. Thank you all for joining us. Now, why are we seeing reports of less American Jews supporting the state of Israel? Let's begin with that issue.
You know, Natasha, I think that there's a divide between Israel and Jewry in the United States because Israel drives away, to a very great extent, Jews who don't live here. Israel is also important to many Jews who live outside of Israel. But if Israel is going to focus from a religious point of view, on orthodoxy and the strict tenets of orthodoxy and halakhic Judaism, to the exclusion of other large segments of the Jewish world, in particular from North America, then this naturally alienates them.
So you see this as kind of a religious conflict. What are some other takes here?
Well, I'll tell you, the question of why is really important, and we don't know the answer. Most of the articles or things that people are talking about, recognizing the phenomenon, saying something is happening. Why it's happening, I don't know. I know for a fact that on July 9th this year, they'll be starting a serious study to try to find out exactly what is the engine that's driving this thing. Why are people feeling this way? One thing I can suggest is intersectionality. That is to say, people no longer deal in grays. People are moving very polarized, either one way or the other. So, and everything sort of fits in. So if you're a liberal Jew, you're anti-Trump, and Trump is pro-Israel, so therefore you're anti-Israel. You're pro-America, I'm an American first, so therefore the feeling of Judaism, Jews as a family, is less.
Well, you know, the Israeli government has pointed to the fact that there are several Jewish organizations that are coming to the forefront of, I guess, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and are essentially anti-Israel. Let's talk a little bit about those organizations.
I think that's exactly the point. I think for many Jews in the U.S., especially from the left or the radical left in the U.S., being Jewish has no positive contest. It's what does it mean to be Jewish? It's to be against whatever the Christian right believes, basically. And if the Christian right supports Israel, then I'm against Israel. If the Christian rights are against our LGBTQ rights, then I am for LGBTQ rights. If abortion, there is no Jewish issue that the radical left Jewry in U.S. Goes for, and that's alienate the Jews in Israel against them, because basically you are anti-Israel. That's what makes you a Jew, and you are and it goes both ways.
What is your take?
Sheldon spoke about the phenomena and the engine, and I've been focusing on the engine. And exactly, and you're right. We have to understand where it's coming from, and there is a campaign by several Jewish groups which are focusing on American Jewry, especially on the young generation, and turning them against Israel. You know, everybody knows about, or many people know about J Street, which has been presenting itself as pro-Israel. We spoke before, or the article that we saw is about Simon Zimmerman. I mean, looking at Simon Zimmerman is a very good way to understand the process. The young generation has been targeted by J Street and other groups like the Newsel Fund, Truah, Ben Ark. All of them, by the way, are source-supported groups. And they've been very cleverly manipulated, the young generation. I mean, they are being presented by those groups by several events which portrays IDF as an army which commits war crime. For example, J Street brings often to the campuses, they bring breaking the silence. And
well, the question here is, though, why, I mean, if it is organizations like this that are part of this problem, why are perhaps Jewish, campus communities bringing these organizations in? How is it that we're seeing this kind of willingness?
They're filling a vacuum. When people come on Aliyah from other areas where Jews have problems with, they encounter anti-Semitism, to come here because we're the solution to their problem. In North America, that's not the issue. For North Americans, like for example myself, we came on Aliyah, we go on Aliyah because Israel is an inspiration to us. And so the problems that we have in Israel aren't really the issue that pushes them away. Israel needs to serve as a beacon, needs to serve as an example, needs to inspire people to come live here. Israel continues to be an embattled country. All those old messages continue to hold true. But when Israel again pushes away and paints itself into a corner and puts itself into a narrow corner including of American politics, by nature, it alienates a large segment of the Jewish community. And as a result, you're going to see some of the fringe become more radical as well.
Those are processes that we're talking about. We're talking about processes of tens of years. You can't blame the last 2 years of Israeli politics and Trump and versus Obama politics.
For years, the Israeli government has been caving.
AIPAC was
for years, the Israeli government has been caving into.
And Netanyahu came when Obama was in power. Netanyahu came by the invitation of both Democrats and Republicans to the U.S. Senate. It's Congress. It's very easy to blame. What you said was correct. You said it's filling a vacuum. There is a vacuum. And the vacuum is, what does being a Jew mean? And until that vacuum is being filled, it only will be filled by hatred that those organizations are feeling.
So that leads us to our next question here. I guess, what can be done to change the division that we're seeing here?
Okay.
A response to that?
I was just looking at the phenomenon. I'm thinking 50 years ago, right after the Six-Day War, there was an unbelievable onrush, a connection between Israel and American Jewry, that being Jewish meant something, that it was one big family. And when Israel was in trouble, American Jewry responded both with their bodies and with a lot of money to help assist. There was this feeling, and of course, after the victory, there was this gush. Everyone, it was a lovey thing, and there was a strong connection. That is basically gone. What's happened is that the American Jewish community, largely liberal Jews, Reform conservative, more Reform, largely liberal, don't feel that family relationship anymore. Quite the opposite. They feel that they're Americans first. Being Jewish doesn't mean that we're part of a people. Being Jewish means tikkun olam. It means social activism. It means being a good guy and being nice.
I guess
and therefore, being Jewish doesn't mean that much. And being Israeli, it's not important.
All right. Well, I guess the discussion for our next interview is going to be how we change this division. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. It's pretty rare to see Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu offer a helping hand to the Iranian regime, but Netanyahu is doing exactly that, simply by pouring a glass of water. Netanyahu has just posted a Facebook video offering help to millions of Iranians who face an impending water crisis. And here's what he has to say.
Today I'm going to make an unprecedented offer to Iran. It relates to water. The Iranian people are victims of a cruel and tyrannical regime that denies them vital water. Israel stands with the people of Iran, and that is why I want to help save countless Iranian lives. We will launch a Farsi website with detailed plans on how Iranians can recycle their wastewater. We will show how Iranian farmers can save their crops and feed their families. The Iranian regime shouts death to Israel. In response, Israel shouts life to the Iranian people.
Israel's impressive water conservation efforts are a testament to its cutting-edge irrigation tech. This includes, of course, the renowned drip water system. Netanyahu claims Israel recycles almost 90% of its wastewater. Considering at least half of the country is desert, that's probably a necessity. Iran, of course, faces an entirely different slew of environmental challenges when it comes to its own water crisis. While topography in Israel is all over the map, from desert to rocky mountains, the Iranian landscape is dominated by high mountain slopes and steep basins. Climate is also extremely varied all over the country. For now, it's unclear whether or not Netanyahu's new Farsi website will adapt to those unique needs, or even whether or not an Iranian audience would be receptive to them. Netanyahu and Khomeini have been at odds for years, with Iran's supreme ruler calling for the destruction of the Jewish state. Tensions between Israel and Iran have exploded in the wake of President Donald Trump's withdrawal from the JCPOA Iran nuclear deal. We even saw the single largest attack by Iran from Syria shortly after Trump's decision. This begs the question, why is Netanyahu offering a glass of water to the Iranian people now? Some say the move is well intended to foster a future friendship should the current regime collapse. Others worry that it's, at best, a PR stunt for the cameras, and a foreboding guise of an inevitable war on the horizon. History will be made in a few hours when U.S. President Donald Trump sits down for a face-to-face talk with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. This summit comes after a very tense standoff between those two nations, one with nuclear consequences, which is why Israel especially is anxious to see what tomorrow's outcome will be. ILTV's Brett Allen Smith is here with more on this. So, Brett, what exactly is at stake for Israel in these talks?
Well, obviously the comparison here applies to the current situation with the Iran and the fate of the JCPOA nuclear deal. So I'll explain it like this. Okay, so from Israel's point of view, this could be a big win if Trump walks away with even moderate success. So first, it's widely believed that North Korean intel is the biggest sponsor of Iran's nuclear program, and the same goes for Syria's nuclear efforts, by the way. So if Trump can put a plug in that, Israel walks away with a big win there. And the second biggest issue is ballistic missiles. Now, right now, North Korea has tested ballistic missiles capable of reaching basically any square inch of the continental United States. If Trump can convince Kim to halt those tests, which is very possible considering that those missiles are, already done, that's an example that Israel will want to apply to the existing deal with Iran, which does not include specific caps on ballistic missiles or that program right now.
Some believe that the fact that this summit is actually happening at all is a big win for Israel. Netanyahu lobbied obviously hardly against the JCPOA, saying that it wouldn't be enough to deter Iran's nuclear program. But economic sanctions have seemingly at least brought North Korea to the table. Is that a fair comparison?
Well, there's a couple of key differences here to keep in mind. So for one, let's remember that those economic sanctions against North Korea in that instance were not just from the U.S. Far from it, actually. In the end, it was really Chinese sanctions that finally broke the camel's back. And China, by the way, is still a signee on the current Iran nuclear deal in its current form. But here's the other thing. By the time that Kim announced that he was willing to negotiate, North Korea was already able to develop successfully a nuclear warhead, which is a big negotiating position ahead of this summit coming up, when Israel would likely not want to replicate with Iran. But the Iran deal actually impacts this whole thing in another way. Now that President Trump has withdrawn from the JCPOA, that sends a very mixed message to Kim Jong-un on America's reliability. And Iran has actually spoken to North Korea, warning that Trump is good for one thing only, quitting agreements, not sticking to them.
Well, President Trump is in Singapore as we speak, preparing for the historic summit with Kim. Obviously, the next 24 hours will be very, very telling, and I'm sure we'll have much more to talk about soon. Thanks for joining us, Britt.
Of course.
All right, I don't know about you, but Netta Barzilai's Eurovision-winning song Toy is still stuck in my head. Netta's insane win at the International Song Competition in May means that next year's Eurovision is headed for Israel. But it looks like the Israeli government has finally relented on its demand to hold the show in Jerusalem, fearing that the public backlash might nix the event altogether. This decision, of course, comes on the heels of a similarly realized fear. Last week, Argentina announced that its national soccer team was canceling a friendly match with Israel's team after the government moved the game from Haifa to Jerusalem. Many slammed the move, accusing the government of politicizing the sports event. While Israel sees Jerusalem as its eternal capital, most of the world's nations see it as a divided city and the unresolved center of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Palestinians revolted against Argentina's soccer team, threatening to burn jerseys of superstar Lionel Messi if the match were to proceed in Jerusalem. Culture and Sports Minister Miri Regev was a central figure in moving the match. Her ministry came under fire when it came out that only a third of the 30,000 tickets were actually sold to the public. The rest were reserved for ministry officials, NGOs, and other special interest groups. After the match was canceled, Regev doubled down on her demand for Eurovision 2019, saying it would either be in Jerusalem or not at all. But clearly the rest of the government is backing away from that hard line. Regev was reportedly not even involved in these latest conversations regarding Eurovision. Israel's Khan broadcaster will now oversee the selection of the venue with Eurovision organizers. Well, we've all heard it before that sports are a science. The 5th Biannual International Congress of Exercise and Sport Sciences has actually just concluded here in Israel, and here to tell us all about it is Dr. Devorah Heller-Stein, the chair of the organizing committee at the Academic College at Wingate. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so tell us a little bit about this conference.
This is the 5th International Congress of Exercise and Sport Sciences was organized in collaboration with the University of Nicosia and the Olympic Committee of Israel.
Interesting.
And it's a very unique event in that it gives a platform to some 17 disciplines within the field of sports sciences. It includes sports management, sports psychology, sports medicine, physical education and pedagogy, the Olympic studies movement, exercise physiology, and other fields among them.
Well, it's very interesting that this takes place in Israel also, because who would know that this is a center, I guess, for sports sciences, right?
Yes, well, the Academic College at Wingate is world-renowned for innovative research.
Interesting.
We have research, for example, we have a genetics lab to research genetics in sports. We have a biomechanics laboratory. The Wingate test, which is one of the most important tests that examines anaerobic ability, was developed at Wingate.
Wow.
So there's a lot of innovative research. Today, very exciting research in technological devices for enhancing performance, for improving the mental skills of athletes, for decision making. This was also one of the subjects that was discussed.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand that this conference is actually held every 6 months. So what is
every 2 years?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years. That's the biannual in terms of every 2 years.
So what are you planning next for the next conference then?
Well, we have established a tradition. This is the 5th one, so it's been 10 years.
Okay.
And we've established a tradition of bringing together researchers from all these different fields, and whatever the latest research is that's hot from the oven, to give them this platform, including scientists, athletes, coaches, students, teachers, to discuss the latest innovations. And that's we want to continue this tradition.
Well, it's a beautiful tradition, I'm obviously I'm stunned to see that this is taking place here in Israel. I wouldn't have imagined that, but it's great news.
And we brought representatives from 25 countries that otherwise would not have come to Israel, and we were able to
show them the country.
Show them the country, and many came with some misconceptions about the country. So this was a great opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
A new day means a new headline, especially with another one of our Israeli stars. And no, this time we're not talking about Gal Gadot, Bar Rafaeli, or Omri Caspi. We're talking about the one and only master mentalist Lior Suchard. Now, a couple of months ago, I got the chance to interview the mentalist to find out if he was the real deal. And let me tell you, I was impressed. But don't take my word for it. Perhaps the world's most famous Hollywood couple had the mentalist over for a birthday event. And ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is obviously here with all the details. Emmanuel.
Yes. Well, first of all, I just have to say I remember your interview with Lior, and I remember being like, nah, that's not real. You know, like there was some kind of trick when he was doing the glasses trick. There was something to it, and I didn't believe it. Last week I had a mentalist on my show. Very exciting. definitely bought it. Definitely understand what you saw. And so apparently Kim Kardashian and Kanye West decided that they needed Lior Suchard also. So Kim hosted the 41-year-old. The
41st birthday.
Yes, the 41st birthday of Kanye West. They had a beautiful candlelit dinner with all their celebrity friends, and everybody came, and Lior Suchard was there.
Yeah, he came to blow everybody's minds, and I'm telling you, and you could actually see on his Instagram, on Facebook, that he's posting all these pictures, obviously, with the Kardashians, because he's actually interviewed Kim Kardashian in the past, as well as many, many other Hollywood stars, but you could tell that people were just completely mind blown by the stuff that he does here. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I was, you know, on Instagram just looking around. I was on Kim Kardashian's story, and I didn't even notice him until she said, "Oh, this is Lior from Tel Aviv," which was super exciting and so fun. He actually did the glasses trick for Kanye, and he was absolutely stunned. He had Kendall Jenner come up and do a few tricks on them, and he had a lot of people really, really amazed.
Well, he's, you know, and you can see this obviously in the special that we did with him, but he said since he was 6 years old, he's been bending spoons, flipping glasses without actually touching them, and obviously reading people's minds.
So there's a lot of people that would say, you know, a lot of people that aren't believers until they really see it, and I think that this was a really good opportunity, obviously not just being biased and being Israeli and Jewish and having him there, but I think it's really good exposure for him, and I think that a lot of the celebrities that were at this event and got to experience a little bit from him are definitely going to be inviting him.
I also saw that he was, you know, playing games with, I think, Lil Wayne. There was some
Tiana Taylor. A lot of people were there, really getting their minds blown by Lior. So I think it's
safe to say that he had a very good week, and obviously Israel's very proud that you know, a local was able to kind of make it into the top of the top.
100%. So the Hollywood scene. So I think this is just the start.
All right, Emmanuel. Well, thanks for joining us and telling us about this. And guys, check Lior out. He's amazing. All right, it is official. The hit Broadway musical, The Band's Visit, has just swept the 2018 Tony Awards, taking home the big win for Best Musical. Well, Israelis are obviously celebrating because the hit show is actually based on the award-winning Israeli film. The musical tells the story of an Egyptian orchestral band that wanders over the border and ends up in a lonely Israeli town in the Negev, or the desert. But far more importantly, the show's themes teach about the importance of communication and the possibility of coexistence. The show was a critical hit and a shoe-in for Tony glory from the moment it premiered on Broadway. Golden Globe winner Tony Shalhoub, who's been consistently snubbed by the Tony Awards, finally took home his much-deserved Best Actor prize for his lead role in The Band's Visit. The show also snagged a slew of technical awards, including Best Sound Design and Lighting, as well as top honors for Lead Actress, Director, Featured Actor, Score, Orchestration, and Best Book of a Musical. Israeli-American actor Ariel Stachel, who won the Tony for Best Featured Actor, even gave a stirring acceptance speech about his own heritage. The original film was written and directed by Eran Kolrin back in 2007 and is arguably one of the most successful Israeli films of all time. Now that The Band's Visit is bathing in Tony glory, you'll probably be waiting longer than ever to buy a ticket. But in the meantime, we definitely recommend checking out the film while you wait.
The Hebrew word of the day is brought to you by IDC Summer Ulpan, open to everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Between Iran and North Korea, the world is constantly stressing about nuclear weapons. That's why today we're talking about all things garani'im, nuclear. All right, I know, it's hard, but just for a second, try to clear your mind of nishikim garani'im, you know, nuclear weapons, because I have a news flash for you. Not all things garani'im are bad. How about the amazing Garini medicine being developed right here in Israel? That's right, guys. Tipul Garini, or nuclear treatments, are a quickly developing and critical tool in the fight against cancer. So, if you're tossing in your bed worrying about what certain world leaders might do with their Garini powers, just try to remember that some Garini things are also helping people. And on that note, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be clear to partly cloudy and with a drop in temperatures to a low of about 73 or 23 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow you can expect an additional drop in temperatures and a chance of rain. The high will be around 81 or 27 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.58 shekels to the American dollar. Don't forget to check out our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Natasha Kirchak, and thanks for watching.